Welcome to part 2 of our discussion about the 10 key concepts and beliefs that dictate everything, every detail of how we parent. This series is about the clash between parents and especially teenagers, but other children, younger children as well. And this clash is one of power and control. It's a genuine struggle for many of us and our children as well. If you haven't had an opportunity to see part 1, I'd encourage you to consider doing that now and then come back to this second video. Today, we're going to explore autonomy. And I want to invite you to keep in mind that our ultimate goal is to look for alternative ways to think about our children and ways to adjust our interactions so that we increase our effectiveness and bring the enjoyment back into parenting and family. There is an expectation that parents automatically know how to parent, and that doesn't match reality. What we know is that a master violinist will prepare and practice many hours over many days and even weeks to play just one song in a concert. Starting a new business, moving to a new city, training for a career, all of these things take months and hours and even years sometimes of study and preparation. And parenting is far more complex and challenging. Being a growing child is far more complex. To make this even more difficult, we're doing it while the real show is going on, which means, of course, lots of live and in-your-face mistakes, lots of start-overs, and lots of apologies. We must embrace the process of growth and development for both our children and ourselves. Our expectation that parenting is automatic and that children will learn quickly and immediately is just simply not valid. It's important to understand the learning process. It's literally called development for a good reason. And that seems to have gotten lost. So let's start looking at this idea of autonomy by understanding development a little bit. So autonomy is part of the developmental process all children go through. Several respected theories have developed through the years. Erikson's stages are pretty common, and partially because it's a fairly simple and basic model, easy to understand. And that's what we're going to use today as we look at this. Erikson identifies 8 stages of development over the lifespan. The first 5 are child development, and the last 3 take us in and through adulthood all the way up to our death. Now, Erikson describes each stage in terms of healthy versus unhealthy. So a given stage refers to the neurodevelopment and all the skills and abilities, as well as ways of thinking and comprehending that are typically under development for the average child during that time period. Stages 1 and 2 are foundational, as we can imagine. They're right at the beginning, post-birth. Today, the second stage, which begins around 12 to 18 months and goes up to about age 36 months. A child in this window of time experiences massive skill development from speaking to running to increased awareness that they are separate from but connected to others. Erikson calls this stage autonomy versus shame and doubt. A couple things are worth noting here. First, please note the contrast between healthy versus unhealthy outcomes. Autonomy, the healthy, shame and doubt, the unhealthy. See, what's at risk here is the bedrock of a child's sense of worth. If things get messed up, the child's sense of worth is going to become compromised. Second, autonomy is inherent. It is not earned. It's not a privilege that we dole out or give permission for. It is literally built into healthy development and the very sense of who we are. The assumption of autonomy is on the neural level. It's not an option in the various pathways that one might take in growing up. It is intrinsic. It is the pathway of healthy growth and development. Also, please note that a sense of autonomy and autonomy are vastly different. Autonomy is the actual innate dynamic that is driven on the neurophysiological level. But a sense of autonomy is one's perception about their powers, their autonomy, their rights. It's like the difference between actual worth versus perception of worth. This speaks, by the way, to the widespread problem that we have in this country, in this world, why so many struggle with their sense of worth. Again, this is what is at stake when autonomy is messed up. A sense of autonomy, the sense of worth are intrinsically intertwined. They develop together and they have a synergistic effect on each other. Autonomy is the right, the freedom, the ability to govern ourselves and to make decisions and to act on those decisions, to take action as we deem appropriate, as we think is appropriate and necessary to meet our needs, our wants, and desires. And when autonomy is usurped over and over, especially when this child is young, there is a part of us that begins to think that we don't have autonomy. When a person senses someone attempting to limit their autonomy, they often resist and push back. It's automatic and subconscious, and maybe even legitimate. I think it's legitimate and healthy. It's a healthy reaction. Efforts to control now begin to bump up against a person's right to autonomy. And this creates a huge conflict inside the child. The intrinsic urge, yearning, and desire on a subconscious level for autonomy, but then on the other hand, the sense that others dominate them. It's like the elephant and the snake syndrome, or learned incompetence or learned helplessness. And by the way, this is the beginning of the formation of personal boundaries too. In this stage, as a child bumps up against the parents' efforts to control them, their sense of self begins to deteriorate, and shame and doubt begin to grow as they struggle to adapt in a world. It's a world of double messages for these kids. I'm the parent, I'm the one in control. And even more bluntly, control yourself, but do what you're told. Just a powerful double bind for these kids. And the parent struggles in a double bind as well at this point. The parent is likely just trying to keep them safe. And they get strong messages about control your child, keep them safe, make them behave. We feel bad as a parent if they're out of control or misbehaving. And yet, as we try to control them, we can feel our connection with our child slipping away. We can feel the clash of power. It's kind of like the sound of two lightsabers in the heat of battle. Autonomy is what they are primed biologically to be developing during this time. And autonomy is about personal management, the right to decide, the right to do what is one's own desire and urges. And granted, at this young age, their desires and urges are often very short-term, very, very focused on the moment. And it's true that they lack perspective, and often their desires are driven by raw, unfiltered drives. And this leads to many opportunities for the conflicts that we're talking about, especially keep your child safe and keep them under control. But as we said, unfortunately, this leaves the child struggling with shame and doubt. Their sense of competence deteriorates in these clashes of power. And so, what is a parent supposed to do with all of this, and how do you move forward? Well, as we wrap up today, I want to make a couple of suggestions. We'll talk more about ideas as we go through this series. But first of all, I want to make sure that I'm clear that I'm not suggesting that we just allow a 2-year-old to have free range, free run, just come and go, do whatever they want. That's self-will run riot. And that goes along with the other extreme, the permissive model of parenting. And it doesn't work any better than the control model. Our task as parents is to support them in developing a sense of their own power, their own autonomy. And this starts with number one, take time. Like it or not, nothing replaces time with our child. And the temptation to try a quick fix, stop it, go to your room until you can behave, is really powerful in this moment. But what we have to understand is the equation goes like this: more time spent now will pay off over time, especially when your child is in the teenage years. And if we spend less time now, the amount of time we pay in the teenage years is astronomical. With our young children, there's a lot of tasks going on where they have to feel their own sense of like control over their life, like potty training or choosing what kind of clothes they're going to wear or what they want for breakfast. And as they get older, as children, they can begin to see the choices that they're making more deliberately and understand the ramifications. And it's our job in taking time to really say, hey, what choice led to you getting hit on the playground? That was not okay for them to hit you, but what choices did you make? And doing it without shame and judgment, just that opportunity to really engage with our kids. And as they hit to teens and young adults, it's still not too late. Even if we haven't built all of this in the younger years, it's not too late. So first of all, in those teenage and young adult years, what we need to first start with is, what are their strengths? What are their healthy character traits? And point these out often. Especially, they need to hear us talk about these positive things in the middle of their struggles, in the middle of problems and difficulties. And then second, when something does go bad, when something isn't working well or a big incident occurs, we need to take the time to really sit down with them and hear their heart. And this is where we can, again, really emphasize, how did this come about? What choices were made by you and other people? And looking at the results, and I really encourage people to use the word results instead of consequences. They might mean the same in the dictionary, but they don't mean the same in your conversation with your child. What are the results? What happened? How did this happen? It's important to have this conversation in a non-judgmental, loving, gentle, kind way. So this is just a start. And as I said, through the series, we'll talk more about what we can do. Thanks for being with me today, and we'll see you again in the next round.